My beloved child, pause for a moment and stay with me. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this moment as something ordinary. There is a reason your eyes stopped here. There is a reason your attention was drawn to these words when countless other voices were competing for your time. I know you may think it was random. I know you may be tempted to believe that this is just another message among many. But deep inside, there is a quiet part of your heart that feels something different right now. There is a gentle stirring you cannot fully explain. There is a question rising within you. Why am I here? Why did this appear before me at this exact moment? My child, I want you to know that some moments carry more meaning than they first appear to hold. Some moments arrive wrapped in ordinary circumstances while carrying extraordinary purpose. This is one of those moments. Before today began, I already knew where you would be. Before you opened your eyes this morning, I knew every thought that would pass through your mind. I knew the worries you would carry. I knew the questions you would wrestle with. I knew the silent ache hidden behind your smile. And because I knew, I prepared this moment long before you arrived here. You may not understand all the details yet. You may not see the full picture, but you do not need to understand everything to receive what I am placing before you. Sometimes the greatest acts of my love arrive before the explanation does. Sometimes I speak before you realize how desperately you needed to hear my voice. My beloved child, there have been days when you felt unnoticed. Days when you wondered whether anyone truly understood what was happening inside your heart. Days when you carried burdens so quietly that even the people closest to you never realized how heavy they had become. You kept moving forward. You kept fulfilling responsibilities. You kept showing up for others. Yet beneath the surface, there were moments when you longed for reassurance. Moments when you silently asked, Lord, do you see me? Do you know what I am carrying? Do you understand how tired I have become? And I want you to hear me clearly now. Yes, I see you. Yes, I know. Yes, I understand. I have never lost sight of you for a single moment. Not when you felt strong, not when you felt weak, not when your faith felt steady, not when your heart felt uncertain. I have been with you through every season. I have been present in every unseen battle. I have been listening to every whispered prayer, even the ones spoken through tears. That is why this moment matters. This is not about chance. This is not about coincidence. This is not about an algorithm, a recommendation, or a random sequence of events. There is a deeper reason. There is a purpose hidden beneath the surface. There is a message within the message. I am calling your attention because your heart needs to remember something. You are not forgotten. You are not drifting through life alone. You are not moving through a meaningless story. Even now, while questions remain unanswered, I am working in ways you cannot yet see. Even now, while certain doors remain closed, I am arranging things beyond your vision. Even now, while you wonder what comes next, I am guiding steps you have not yet taken. My child, timing matters. You may look at your life and see delays. You may look at your circumstances and see unfinished chapters. You may look at your prayers and wonder why certain answers seem distant. But I see timing differently than you do. I see the beginning and the ending together. I see connections you cannot yet recognize. I see opportunities being prepared before you arrive. I see healing being formed beneath the surface. I see growth taking place in places you rarely notice. And because I see what you cannot see, I ask you to trust me when I tell you that this moment has purpose. There is a reason your attention was interrupted. There is a reason your heart feels drawn to stay. There is a reason these words found you today instead of yesterday or tomorrow. This is a divine appointment. Not because you are perfect, not because you have done everything right, not because you have earned it, but because you are loved. Deeply loved, completely loved, faithfully loved. I know there is a part of you that still wonders whether anything meaningful can change. I know there is a part of you that has grown cautious after disappointment. But do not close your heart now. Do not walk away from this moment before it has a chance to speak life into your spirit. Let the noise settle. Let your thoughts become still. Let your soul breathe again. Because there is something I want you to discover in the moments ahead. Something you have not fully seen yet. Something that has been quietly unfolding while you were busy surviving, and this is only the beginning. My beloved child, before you can understand where I am leading you, I want you to understand what has been weighing down your heart. There is a burden you have been carrying for longer than most people realize. Some of it is visible, much of it is hidden. You have become so accustomed to carrying it that sometimes you forget how heavy it truly is. You tell yourself you are fine. You tell yourself to keep moving. You tell yourself that tomorrow will be easier. Yet deep inside, there is a weariness that has quietly settled into your soul. It is not only physical exhaustion. It is not simply the result of a busy schedule or a lack of rest. It is something deeper. It is emotional fatigue. It is the tiredness that comes from holding yourself together for too long. It is the exhaustion that grows when you continue showing strength while carrying unanswered questions. I see the silent struggles that no one applauds. I see the battles that happen entirely within your thoughts. I see the moments when you sit alone and wonder why everything feels heavier than it used to. You have carried disappointment. You have carried uncertainty. You have carried responsibilities that seem to multiply faster than your strength. You have carried concerns about the future while still trying to heal from the past. And because you have such a caring heart, you often carry the burdens of other people as well. You worry about those you love. You think about their struggles. You wish you could fix what is hurting them. You wish you could make everything better. But in trying to care for everyone else, you have often forgotten how tired you have become yourself. My child, I see the pressure you rarely speak about. I see the expectations that sit on your shoulders. I see the way you compare where you are to where you thought you would be by now. I see the quiet disappointment that appears when another day passes and certain hopes remain unfulfilled. Sometimes you smile while carrying sadness. Sometimes you encourage others while feeling discouraged yourself. Sometimes you tell people that everything will be all right, even when you are struggling to believe it for your own life. And little by little, that hidden pain begins to drain your spirit. There have been nights when your body was still, but your mind refused to rest. Thoughts kept circling, questions kept returning, worries kept asking for attention. You tried to find peace, yet your heart felt crowded with concerns. You tried to stay positive, yet a heaviness lingered beneath the surface. You tried to remain hopeful, yet disappointment kept whispering in the background. My beloved child, none of this makes you weak. None of this means you are failing. It simply means you have been carrying more than you were ever meant to carry alone. I know about the tears you never allowed to fall. I know about the conversations you replay in your mind. I know about the moments when you felt overlooked, misunderstood, or forgotten. I know about the dreams that seem farther away than they once did. I know about the emotional exhaustion that comes from waiting, wondering, and trying to stay strong at the same time. And perhaps what hurts most is not one single problem. Perhaps it is the accumulation of many small wounds, the disappointments that never fully healed, the prayers that seem suspended in silence, the hopes that have been postponed again and again, the constant effort of pretending everything is under control when your heart feels tired from carrying so much. My child, I see it all. Every hidden pain, every silent struggle, every weary thought, every moment of emotional fatigue. Nothing about your burden is invisible to me. Nothing about your exhaustion has escaped my attention. Even now, as you listen, I want you to know that you do not have to convince me of your pain because I already see it, I already know it, and I have never looked away. And because the burden has been heavy for so long, my child, something else has quietly happened within your heart. Little by little, without even realizing it, you began believing things that were never spoken by me. Not because you wanted to, not because you chose deception, but because pain has a way of repeating certain thoughts until they begin to sound like truth. The longer a wound remains tender, the easier it becomes to listen to the voice of fear instead of the voice of faith. I have watched this struggle inside you. I have seen the questions that arrive late at night. I have heard the conclusions you sometimes reach when disappointment lingers too long. And I want you to recognize something important. Not every thought that enters your mind deserves to stay there. Not every feeling tells the truth. Not every fear speaks with authority. Yet there have been moments when you started believing that you were forgotten. You would never have said those exact words out loud. You would never have openly declared it. But hidden beneath your worries was a quiet suspicion. If I truly mattered, why does life feel this hard? If God sees me, why do some prayers seem unanswered? If I am loved, why do I feel so alone sometimes? My beloved child, these questions do not make you weak. They make you human. But when those questions remain unanswered for too long, fear often rushes in to answer them for you. Fear whispers that you have been overlooked. Fear whispers that nothing will ever change. Fear whispers that your best days are behind you. Fear whispers that everyone else is moving forward while you remain stuck. And the most painful part is that after hearing those whispers enough times, they begin to feel familiar. Another lie that has tried to settle into your heart is the belief that you are not enough, not successful enough, not strong enough, not faithful enough, not worthy enough. You compare yourself to people around you and wonder why their lives appear easier. You look at your own mistakes and replay them again and again. You focus on what you should have done differently. You magnify every weakness while overlooking every step of growth. Slowly, self-doubt begins building a home inside your thoughts. It tells you that if you were better, life would be different. If you were stronger, things would be easier. If you were more deserving, blessings would arrive faster. But, my child, self-doubt is a cruel storyteller. It edits out every victory. It ignores every lesson learned. It forgets every moment of courage. It only shows you the evidence that supports its fear-filled narrative. I have also seen another false belief taking root beneath the surface. The belief that you're waiting means nothing is happening. Because you cannot see movement, you assume there is none. Because you cannot see results, you assume there is no progress. Because the answer has not appeared yet, you assume the story is standing still. Yet many times what you call silence becomes the canvas where fear paints its darkest pictures. Fear says you have been abandoned. Fear says you have missed your opportunity. Fear says your future has already been decided. Fear says there is no reason to hope anymore. And after carrying emotional exhaustion for so long, part of you becomes tempted to believe it. Not because you want to lose hope, but because disappointment has made hope feel risky. It feels safer not to expect anything. It feels safer not to dream too much. It feels safer not to trust too deeply. That way, if nothing changes, your heart thinks it will hurt less. But hidden beneath all these fears is a deeper wound. The fear that maybe you are walking through life alone. The fear that maybe no one truly sees the struggle. The fear that maybe your story no longer matters. My beloved child, I see how these false beliefs have exhausted you. They have drained your joy. They have stolen your confidence. They have clouded your ability to see yourself through my eyes. And while they have spoken loudly, they have never become truth simply because they were repeated. They remain what they have always been: fear, doubt, misunderstanding, shadows attempting to convince you they are stronger than the light. Yet even now, as you listen, a deeper awareness is beginning to awaken within you. Because somewhere, beneath the fear, beneath the self-doubt, beneath the painful assumptions, there remains a part of your heart that still longs to believe there is more to the story than what your fears have been telling you. And that longing is not there by accident, my beloved child. It remains because there is something your fears have never been able to erase. Beneath every disappointment, beneath every season of uncertainty, beneath every false belief that tried to settle into your heart, there is still the truth of who you are. The reason you feel tension between fear and hope is because fear has been telling you one story while I have always been seeing another. You look at yourself and often notice what is missing. I look at you and see what is growing. You focus on the prayers that have not yet been answered. I see the faith that kept you praying anyway. You focus on the doors that remain closed. I see the wisdom that was formed while you waited. You focus on how tired you have become. I see the strength that carried you farther than you ever imagined possible. My child, you have been measuring your life by visible results, but I see realities that cannot be measured so easily. There were moments when you thought you were falling apart. I saw you learning endurance. There were moments when you thought you were losing ground. I saw your roots growing deeper. There were moments when you believed nothing was changing. I saw transformation taking place where human eyes could not yet see it. You have been harder on yourself than I have ever been. You have looked at your imperfections and called them failures. You have looked at your scars and called them weaknesses. You have looked at your delays and called them evidence that something is wrong. But my beloved child, I see those same things differently. I see a heart that kept loving even after being disappointed. I see a spirit that kept moving forward even when the path felt uncertain. I see courage that continued showing up day after day despite exhaustion. I see faith that survived storms it never expected to face. You call yourself weak because you feel tired. I call you faithful because you kept going. You call yourself behind because life does not look the way you expected. I call you growing because not all progress is visible. You call yourself forgotten because certain answers have not arrived yet. I call you deeply known because I have never lost sight of a single detail of your journey. My child, if only you could see yourself through my eyes for a moment, you would notice how much you have overcome. You would notice how many times you stood back up after wanting to quit. You would notice how much compassion has been born from your pain. You would notice how much wisdom has been shaped through your waiting. You would notice that even in your weakest seasons, I was building something beautiful within you. There are qualities forming in your heart that could not have been developed any other way. Patience, compassion, dependence upon me, sensitivity to the struggles of others, a deeper understanding of grace. These are not small things. These are treasures being formed within your soul. Yet because they cannot be photographed, counted, or displayed, you often overlook them. But I do not overlook them. I see every hidden victory. I see every private act of courage. I see every moment you chose hope when discouragement felt easier. I see every prayer whispered through uncertainty. I see every tear that became a seed of future strength. My beloved child, there is unseen growth taking place inside you right now, even in this very season. Even while questions remain, even while some chapters still feel unfinished. Growth has not stopped simply because you cannot measure it. My perspective reaches beyond the present moment. I see who you are becoming, not only where you are today. I see the person emerging from this season. I see the strength developing beneath the surface. I see the healing that is quietly unfolding. And when I look at you, I do not see a forgotten soul struggling to survive. I see a beloved child who has come farther than they realize, who is stronger than they feel, and who is being shaped by my love in ways they have not yet fully understood. And because I see who you are becoming, my beloved child, I also understand the question that has quietly lived in your heart for so long. Why does this season take so much time? Why does the waiting feel longer than expected? Why does it seem as though life pauses while everyone else continues moving forward? I know you have asked these questions. I know there were moments when you looked at the horizon of your future and wondered why certain answers appeared so distant. But I want you to see something through my eyes. Waiting is not the absence of purpose. Waiting is often where purpose is being formed. Consider a seed hidden beneath the soil. When it is first planted, nothing about its appearance seems impressive. No leaves break through the surface. No branches stretch toward the sky. To someone watching from above, it may appear that nothing is happening at all. Yet beneath the ground, where no one can see, life has already begun its work. Roots are spreading. Strength is forming. Foundations are being established. The seed is not being ignored. It is being prepared. My child, there have been seasons in your life when you felt exactly like that seed, hidden, unnoticed, buried beneath circumstances you did not choose. You looked around and saw no visible evidence that anything was changing. But what you could not see was the growth taking place beneath the surface, the patience developing within you, the wisdom being formed through experience, the deeper trust that only emerges when certainty is unavailable. You wanted the fruit. I was strengthening the roots. You wanted the answer. I was preparing the vessel that would carry the answer. You wanted the next chapter. I was still writing parts of the story that needed to exist before the page could turn. My beloved child, every season has a purpose. Spring does not rush into summer. Autumn does not apologize for arriving after summer ends. Winter does not remain forever. Each season accomplishes something unique before the next one begins. Yet when you are living inside a difficult season, it is easy to believe it will never change. It is easy to mistake a chapter for the entire story. It is easy to think the process has become permanent, but I have never confused a season with a destination. What feels endless to you is still moving according to my timing. What feels delayed to you is still unfolding within my care. Sometimes waiting exists because there are things within you that need room to grow. Compassion grows slowly, character grows slowly, endurance grows slowly, faith grows slowly. These gifts are not created overnight. They develop through process. They deepen through experience. They mature through time. And while the process may feel uncomfortable, it is never meaningless. There are blessings that require stronger roots before they arrive. There are opportunities that require deeper wisdom before they can be sustained. There are answers that become more beautiful because of what the waiting produced inside your heart. My child, I know waiting can feel lonely. I know it can test your confidence. I know it can tempt you to believe that nothing is happening. But the truth is that growth is often quiet. Preparation is often hidden. The most important work frequently happens where human eyes cannot see it. Just because you cannot measure the progress does not mean the progress is absent. Just because the roots are invisible does not mean they are not growing. And just because the season feels long does not mean it has been forgotten. Even now, while you are waiting, I am working. Even now, while questions remain, preparation continues. Even now, while you wonder how much longer, growth is taking place beneath the surface. And one day you will look back and realize that what felt like delay was actually a sacred process that was preparing you for more than you could see at the time. And while the process has been shaping circumstances around you, my child, something equally important has been taking place within you. The question is no longer only about where you are going. The question is becoming who you are becoming along the way. Many people focus entirely on the destination. They become so fixed on what they want next that they fail to notice what is being formed within them right now. Yet some of the most valuable transformations happen long before the destination arrives. Think about the person you were before this season began. Think about how you viewed challenges, uncertainty, and disappointment. Think about how quickly fear could steal your peace, or how easily setbacks could define your perspective. Now look carefully at what has been developing beneath the surface. You may not feel stronger every day, but resilience has been growing. Not the kind of resilience that pretends everything is easy. Not the kind that ignores pain, but the kind that learns how to keep moving forward even when answers remain hidden. The kind that learns how to remain steady during uncertainty. The kind that refuses to allow temporary circumstances to define an eternal story. Resilience is not built during moments of comfort. It is built when you continue taking one step after another despite not having all the answers, and that strength has been growing inside you. Wisdom has also been taking root. There were lessons you could not have learned through success alone. There were insights that only experience could teach. There were truths that became real because life required you to live them instead of simply understand them. Wisdom is not merely knowledge. Wisdom is the ability to see beyond the immediate moment. It is the ability to recognize that not every closed door is a loss. Not every delay is a setback. Not every challenge is an obstacle. Sometimes what appears difficult today becomes the very thing that prepares you for tomorrow. That understanding has been quietly forming within you. Patience has been growing as well. I know patience is rarely celebrated while it is being developed. Most people want the reward without the waiting. Most people want maturity without process. Yet patience is one of the qualities that brings stability to the soul. It teaches you how to remain grounded when life feels uncertain. It teaches you how to trust without demanding immediate results. It teaches you how to breathe through seasons that do not unfold according to your preferred timeline. And little by little, patience has been stretching your capacity to endure with grace. There is something else developing within you, compassion. Because you have known disappointment, you understand the struggles of others differently now. Because you have experienced uncertainty, your heart responds with greater tenderness. Because you have walked through difficult seasons, you have become less quick to judge and more willing to understand. The pain you wish to avoid has often deepened your ability to care. The challenges you never requested have expanded your capacity for empathy. These are not small transformations. They are sacred ones. My child, you are becoming someone who carries greater wisdom than before, greater resilience than before, greater patience than before, greater compassion than before. The process has not only been preparing future opportunities, it has been shaping the person who will step into them. One day you will recognize that this season was not merely about waiting for something external to happen. It was also about the formation of character, the strengthening of your spirit, and the development of qualities that will serve you for years to come. The journey has been doing more than moving you toward a destination. It has been transforming you into someone capable of carrying what lies ahead with maturity, steadiness, and quiet strength. And now, my beloved child, after everything you have carried, everything you have questioned, everything you have endured, you may find yourself asking a simple but important question. What should I do now? What is the next step? What is required of me in this season? The answer is not as complicated as fear has tried to make it. You do not need to force every door open. You do not need to solve every unanswered question. You do not need to carry the entire future on your shoulders. What I am inviting you into is something much deeper and much gentler. I am inviting you to release what was never yours to control. There are burdens you have been gripping so tightly that your soul has become tired from the effort. You replay conversations. You revisit disappointments. You rehearse possible outcomes. You search for certainty in places where certainty cannot be found. And without realizing it, you have been carrying responsibilities that belong to me. My child, there comes a moment when healing begins with letting go. Let go of the belief that everything depends on you. Let go of the pressure to have every answer today. Let go of the constant need to understand every detail before taking the next step. Some things become lighter the moment they are surrendered. There is also forgiveness that may need to take place within your heart, not because what happened was acceptable, not because the pain was imaginary, but because carrying resentment for too long only deepens the wound. Forgiveness is not pretending that hurt never happened. Forgiveness is choosing not to let that hurt continue ruling your future. Some people left scars. Some situations brought disappointment. Some chapters ended differently than you hoped. Yet if you continue carrying those moments everywhere you go, they will occupy space that was meant for peace. Release them. Place them into my hands. Allow your heart to become free from the weight of constantly revisiting what cannot be changed. My beloved child, I also invite you to surrender your timeline. This may be one of the hardest invitations of all. You had expectations about when things would happen. You imagined certain prayers being answered sooner. You pictured life unfolding differently. Yet holding too tightly to your own timeline often creates frustration that steals today's peace. Trust that what is still unfolding has not been forgotten. Trust that what remains unfinished is not abandoned. Trust that the story is larger than the chapter you are currently living. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is choosing trust over control. It is choosing peace over constant striving. It is choosing faith over endless analysis. And trust, my child, is not something reserved for people who understand everything. Trust is often strongest when understanding is incomplete. Trust says, I may not see the entire path, but I will continue walking. Trust says, I may not know every answer, but I will not allow fear to become my guide. Trust says, I will keep my heart open instead of allowing disappointment to close it. So this is the invitation before you. Release what has become too heavy. Forgive what has been poisoning your peace. Surrender what you cannot control. Trust beyond what you can currently see. Take a deep breath and loosen your grip on the things that have exhausted your spirit. You do not need to carry them all. You do not need to solve them all. You do not need to force tomorrow to arrive today. There is freedom waiting on the other side of surrender. There is peace waiting on the other side of trust. And there is a quiet strength that begins to grow whenever a heart chooses to place its confidence in something greater than its fears. And when a heart begins to release fear, surrender control, and walk forward with trust, something beautiful starts to happen. The future no longer feels like a dark hallway filled with uncertainty. It begins to feel like a horizon waiting for sunrise. My beloved child, there is so much about your story that you cannot see yet. There are chapters that have not been opened, conversations that have not happened, opportunities that have not appeared, moments of healing that have not fully unfolded. The future remains hidden not because it is empty, but because it is still being revealed one step at a time. I know there have been seasons when you imagined tomorrow through the lens of yesterday's disappointments. You assumed that because certain things were difficult before, they would always remain difficult. You assumed that because some doors closed, no new doors would ever open. You assumed that because you experienced loss, restoration would be impossible. But the future is not obligated to repeat the past. New chapters emerge in ways that human understanding rarely predicts. A seed does not resemble the tree it will become. Dawn does not resemble the darkness that came before it. And the next chapter of your life may contain possibilities that your present perspective cannot yet imagine. My child, there is restoration that often begins quietly, not with dramatic announcements, not with instant transformation, but with small signs of renewal, a little more peace where anxiety once lived, a little more confidence where fear once ruled, a little more hope where discouragement once lingered. These small beginnings matter more than you realize. Every season of renewal starts somewhere. Every breakthrough begins before it becomes visible. Every new chapter starts with a single page turning. I want you to understand that growth does not stop when you cannot see it. Progress does not disappear because it is happening slowly. Sometimes the greatest changes arrive so gently that they are only recognized when you look back and realize how far you have come. The person who once felt trapped discovers new freedom. The person who once felt lost discovers new direction. The person who once felt exhausted discovers fresh strength. These transformations rarely happen all at once. They unfold over time, creating a future that is different from the one fear predicted. My beloved child, there are opportunities ahead that you cannot currently anticipate. Not because life will suddenly become perfect, not because every challenge will disappear, but because new possibilities often emerge from places that once seemed ordinary. A conversation can create a new direction. A lesson learned can create a new opportunity. A season of preparation can open a path that did not exist before. The future is filled with potential that remains invisible until the right moment arrives. This is why hope matters. Hope allows your heart to remain open to what has not yet appeared. Hope reminds you that today's circumstances are not the final chapter. Hope creates room for new beginnings. It creates room for restoration. It creates room for possibilities that fear would never allow you to imagine. So do not assume that the best parts of your story belong only to the past. Do not assume that what has been lost can never be restored in meaningful ways. Do not assume that because you cannot see the road ahead, there is no road ahead. The future remains unwritten from your perspective, but it is not without purpose. There are still pages to be filled. There are still lessons to be learned. There are still moments of joy to be experienced. There are still reasons to hope. And as you continue moving forward one faithful step at a time, you may discover that what once looked like an ending was quietly becoming the beginning of something new. And now, my beloved child, as this moment comes to a gentle close, I do not want you to leave carrying the same weight you brought with you. I do not want you to walk away focused only on the questions that remain unanswered. I do not want your heart to return to the fears that have tried for so long to convince you that the story is over. Instead, I want you to carry something different. Carry the reminder that growth has been taking place even when you could not see it. Carry the reminder that difficult seasons do not define your future. Carry the reminder that what feels unfinished today is not necessarily incomplete forever. There have been moments throughout this journey when you felt tired, moments when you questioned your progress, moments when you wondered whether anything meaningful was happening at all. Yet now you can see a little more clearly. The burden was real, but it was not the whole story. The waiting was difficult, but it was not empty. The uncertainty was uncomfortable, but it was not without purpose. Something has been growing beneath the surface. Something has been strengthening within you. Wisdom has been growing. Patience has been growing. Resilience has been growing. Compassion has been growing. And these gifts will remain with you long after this season has passed. My child, take a deep breath and allow your soul to rest for a moment. You do not have to solve tomorrow tonight. You do not have to carry every outcome. You do not have to force your way into peace. Peace becomes possible when you stop demanding certainty and begin embracing trust. Let your heart settle. Let your thoughts become quiet. Let hope take the place that fear once occupied. The road ahead may still contain mysteries, but it also contains possibilities. It contains opportunities for renewal. It contains moments of unexpected joy. It contains lessons that will strengthen you and blessings that will arrive in their proper time. You do not need to know every detail in advance to move forward with confidence. One faithful step is enough. One day at a time is enough. One act of trust at a time is enough. As you continue your journey, may your heart be lighter than it was before. May your mind be steadier than it was before. May your spirit find rest from the constant pressure to figure everything out. May you remember that seasons change, roots grow, and stories continue unfolding even when progress is invisible. May you discover courage for the days ahead and patience for the process that remains. May you find strength when challenges arise and calm when uncertainty appears. May your heart remain open to hope. May your soul remain anchored in peace. And whenever fear tries to return, remember what you have learned. Remember that hidden growth is still growth. Remember that preparation is not punishment. Remember that waiting is not the same as being forgotten. Remember that your story is still being written. So leave this moment with your head lifted a little higher, your heart a little calmer, and your spirit a little stronger. Let this truth remain with you wherever you go. The season you are living through is not the final word. The final word belongs to hope, and hope is still alive within you.